So you made it to the final walkthrough. Awesome. You're about to close. You're going to walk through the house and make sure everything is good before you head to the closing table. I did a video about this a while ago about the final walkthrough, things that you should look for. But what happens when things go wrong during that final walkthrough? What if things are found that can be a potential issue and it could potentially prevent you from closing?
Are you kidding me?
Today, I'm going to share with you a few stories from my personal experience with clients where we ran into some issues in the final walkthrough, and I will tell you what ended up happening. Fortunately, none of those deals fell apart, but oh boy, was it close. Really close. Like I really thought some deals were going to fall apart. So anyway, let's get into that right now. So welcome back to my channel. I apologize for the casual attire today. It is snowing, or it snowed a little bit this morning here in New Jersey. So kind of dressed for the winter stuff and, not really into the whole dressing up today. So in my casual attire.
Well, you know what? At least the weather's turned.
Oh, sweater weather.
Sweater weather.
Sweater weather.
Oh, God, I was...
Finally, sweater weather.
Okay, so let's get into this. I'm going to share with you some stories of personal experience that I had with my clients where we ran into some issues during the final walkthrough. And I'm going to explain to you what happened. And if this is to happen to you, I'm going to give you some tips at the end to help you cope with that. So story number one. This purchase was the very first deal I ever had as a real estate agent, and I was representing the buyer. Now, stay with me here. During the home inspection at this house, it was discovered there was a tree that was fairly close to the house. So there was a big tree, and then right next to it, it almost looked like it was an offshoot of this tree, but there was another skinny tree right next to it. Both the branches at the top of this tree were hitting the roof of the house. And the inspector raised it as a concern that the tree either needs to be removed or cut the branches back. And he also cited that, the tree is really close to the house. It could potentially fall, all that stuff. So, of course, my clients go back and they ask the seller to either provide a credit to remove the tree or remove the tree herself. So they took it upon themselves. The seller was like, okay, no problem. We'll just remove it. Okay. Now we're going to the final walkthrough. And guess what's still there? The big tree. The skinny one that was right next to it, that was removed. So here we are for about a half an hour standing around this tree. It was me, my clients, and the listing agent all debating about that was the wrong tree. They wanted that big one removed, and she removed the wrong tree. It was the skinny one next to it.
I'm confused.
And the listing agent kept coming back and said, well, that was the one where the branches were touching the tree. So she just took that down. And we're like, that's not what we asked for. So there's a whole miscommunication between the attorneys, or I think our attorney communicated it. I just don't know if the seller's attorney properly heard what we were asking for. So needless to say, this is now becoming an issue, and we're thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a problem going to closing. So we go to the closing table, all the papers are signed, and this is the last item that we are debating. Actually, the attorneys were debating, and this was, oh boy, this was fun to watch, to see the two of them argue and talking about, well, which was the right tree to cut down? Well, it was the skinnier one because that had the most branches that were hitting the house. But the bigger one that has potential danger of damaging the house. Oh my God, it was like back and forth, like watching a tennis match, watching these two attorneys. I kid you not.
It's funny because it's true.
My clients wanted $1,000 credit. They wanted $1,000 credit to have that tree removed. That's about how much it costs to get a tree taken down here. Constant debating back and forth. The attorney's on the phone with the homeowner, and they finally settled on $250.
Really?
I mean, I wish it turned out differently for them, but at least they got a little something for it. But oh my God, make sure your attorneys fully communicate and you have everything in writing about what's expected, what you're looking to have done to the house, so you have no issues at the walkthrough. Okay, my next story. These buyers, I will tell you, all the years I've been in real estate, these are probably the hardest clients I ever had. They were not easy to work with. They were very challenging. Just questioned everything that I said, just challenged everything. And they made life difficult for the seller. I was mortified because I normally don't work with people like that. I don't know what happened. I mean, they seemed nice when I first started working with them, but then once we got under contract, it's like the true colors came through.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so they were fighting everything at what came up on the inspection. And I'm talking like little things like recaulking the bathtub, removing a sticker off a window. Yeah, I just really like minute stuff that they were asking for. Well, now we come to the final walkthrough, and now he's upset. The husband's upset because the window treatments were left on the windows, and that was part of the listing. The window treatments were staying, and the seller had communicated that during the whole transaction, like she's not taking the window treatments because the one room had cathedral ceilings and the windows were pretty high, and she wasn't going to deal with that. And okay, fine, so be it. That's her prerogative. But now he comes in saying at the walkthrough, I want those things taken down. Okay. And he was also upset because there was a TV bracket that was still hanging on the wall, and he was yelling at me about it.
What?
hmm Look, it's part of the job. Unfortunately, it happens. But he was yelling at me because he said everything was supposed to be taken off. And I said, no, they said they were leaving that. So basically, he was trying to spin it and put it on. It was everybody else's fault that he wanted these things, even though it was already stipulated they were staying. So the next big thing he addressed was, so the seller had left garbage out at the end of the driveway that it was going to be picked up the very next day. Garbage pickup was the next day. And it wasn't like piles and piles of garbage. It was a couple of cans, and she was throwing out, just some things from the house. Well, he made a big deal about that. So if he wasn't going to get his way with the stuff, with the window treatments and the stuff on the wall, he was going to make a big deal about the garbage. So we go to the closing table, and sure enough, they both walk in, husband and wife walk in, and they went to their attorney. This is wrong. This is wrong. They left the window treatments up. They left the TV bracket up, but we're really upset that the garbage is at the end of the driveway. That shouldn't be. We shouldn't have to walk up to our house and see all this garbage. And again, it wasn't a big, it wasn't like garbage bags like you see piled up in New York City. Okay. When the garbage sits out there for a while and they don't get around to picking it up. It didn't look like that at all. So back and forth with the attorneys, the seller's attorney, I kid you not, stood up and said, I'm canceling this deal right now. We're not selling this house to you if you can't come to a reasonable agreement with the things that you're bringing up. This is explained to you. This is how it was going to be. And I really thought it was done. I'm like, oh my God, I went through all of this hell and this is going to fall apart. So my buyer clients got this brilliant idea, said, okay, well, let's hold money in escrow until the garbage is picked up. They wanted to hold $2,500 in escrow until the garbage got picked up the next day. Are you serious? Are you serious?
Are you actually saying that?
So again, the seller's attorney went back at them, a lot of back and forth. They ended up settling on leaving $500 in escrow until the garbage got picked up the next day. Now, look, this is a rare scenario because, I think they were just looking for trouble. They were looking to just get whatever they can at the 11th hour, trying to get more money off the sale of the house. And let me tell you, they got a good price on that house, and they were just being extremely difficult. So yeah, glad that I don't have to deal with them anymore. Okay, my third example, I was representing the seller, and this is a recent one. Representing the seller, and we come to the final walkthrough, and the buyer was, young man in his mid to late 20s, first time buyer. So he brings his father along to the final walkthrough. You know where this is going, right? Well, so there was a light switch at the bottom of the stairs, and that light switch was not turning on the light at the top of the stairs. Now, we knew this at the home inspection, but the light switch at the top of the stairs controlled that light. The father, I don't know where he was during the home inspection, but now the father's making a big deal over this light switch at the bottom of the stairs. He's like, well, this isn't right. This light switch isn't working. And I said that it was always like that. It was like that the day of the inspection. And he said, no, it wasn't. So now he's arguing with me. And I said, no, sir, it was not. It was not like that. And the inspector didn't even address that as an issue. So anything that was in that inspection report, the things that you requested to be repaired, if those things are not done, you have something to argue about. But that light switch, that was like that. And he turned around and said to me, well, how do I know that these owners didn't change that switch so it doesn't work anymore and turn that light on? How do I know they didn't do that since the inspection? Uh, oh my God. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Yeah. So needless to say, my sellers were so angry that he was accusing them of that. And we said it like so many times that that the light switch was like that from always like that. The owners did not touch anything. And turned to him and I said, "You honestly think they're going to hire an electrician to come out here and make that light switch like not do what it's supposed to do?" It just baffled my mind. I could not believe it. So making a big deal. We had to get the attorneys on the phone because the closing was happening in a couple of hours. My sellers are ready to walk away because they were so upset that he was just being totally irrational about it. So we went back and forth. The attorneys got involved, and fortunately, they backed off and they didn't make a big deal about it. And we closed without incident. So no money was given back to the buyer, nothing like that. So why am I sharing these stories with you? Well, look, don't get excited until you walk away from the closing table. And that's what I tell everybody when we're doing a deal. Anything could go wrong, and that means to the last minute, even at the final walkthrough. So some things I need you to keep in mind. When you're going to go do your final walkthrough, check all the things that you're supposed to check. The electrical, turn on all the faucets, check the light switches, all that stuff. And you are going to go through your inspection report. So if there were issues in your inspection that the homeowner was supposed to repair, you're supposed to check those as well. Do not go in looking for something else to complain about unless there is something new. Okay. So if you notice that, oh my God, there's a water stain here that wasn't there the last time we were here, absolutely. It could be brought up at the closing table. And what can happen is, like what happened in story number 2, they wanted to hold money in escrow. That could be done as well too. So if you see something wrong, if there's any damage to the house that wasn't there from the last time you saw the house, like say at the home inspection, what will happen is the lawyers will negotiate a fair amount of money to be held in escrow until that problem is repaired. Now, if something is major, say if the basement floods, or which believe me, I've heard that happen where a basement took on water right before closing. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm so glad I haven't been in that situation, but I've heard it. Sometimes what will happen is those deals will fall apart. Sometimes a buyer will get freaked out and say, you know what, we're not buying it. And they've walked away. Unless it's something major, like if you notice a leak, if, whatever, something broken, you can bring that up at the closing table for sure. And what will happen is you'll either go into money will be held in escrow until you have that issue repaired. So then the buyer will go back and have it repaired, or the seller's attorney will actually even write a check to give to the buyers to cover whatever the cost would be to make that repair. If it's a smaller repair, anything like under $500. Okay. But just keep these things in mind as you're going through your final walkthrough. And if you notice something immediately, call your attorney while you're there at the house and say, hey, there's a leak coming from the skylight. I noticed water coming in through the basement. Call your attorney immediately before the closing so you can get to some type of resolution before you get to the closing table. But the biggest piece of advice I want to give you is cooler heads prevail. Buying and selling, I say it all the time, it's a huge emotional process. If you have cooler heads at the closing table, everyone's going to win at the end, okay? It's going to benefit everybody. So you have cooler heads, your attorneys have cooler heads to come to some mutual agreement on how to address any issues that come up. You will close on the house. So just try not to get upset. If you're at the closing table and you find yourself getting upset, get up and leave the room. Seriously, that's what I've told people. Like, let's leave the room. Let's go for a walk. Calm yourself down and think, okay, what is going to be the best scenario for me to get this resolved? So I'm happy, the seller's happy, and we can close the deal. So those are my stories about what happens when things go wrong at the final walkthrough. I hope you found it helpful. And as always, check out this video over here if you want to learn something else. Thank you so much for watching me today. I am Jackie Baker with Coldwell Banker Realty, and I will see you next time.